Alright guys, we have our first Super EZA in Dokkan, which of course is the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Really excited to try him out, see what he can do. He is rainbowed, he is level 10 links, and I'm also very curious to see what they do to the other units that could get Super EZAs going forward as well, especially my boy Jeet's Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, because he was one of the best EZAs in the whole game and one of the best units in the whole game because of his damage reduction. Imagine what they do to him when he gets a Super EZA. And funny enough, these two work really well together, so maybe in a future celebration, when he eventually does get one, that could be one of the stronger rotations in the game. But we do have him on rotation right now, only 2 links active with Saiyan Warrior Race and Fierce Battle. Of course, we are missing the 7th link. In terms of starting stats, you don't really see that too often. 529k and 305k defense. I mean, numbers-wise, at the beginning of the turn, good start. So, of course, the Super EZA only introduces passive changes. So, he gets Ki +2 and attack and defense plus 200%. And he's gone from like 2 lines of text to a whole book. He will perform a critical hit guaranteed from his first turn on entry turn. So, this turn, he is guaranteed to crit no matter what. 13 million with a guaranteed crit. Damn, and a second 13 to follow up, which is also going to guaranteed crit. Damn. So just to have a guaranteed crit when you're doing 13 million on a super straight away is kind of crazy. Like, I know Super Vegeta is probably going to be like very similar because he has built-in crit on SA effect, but having a guaranteed crit for your first turn, doing that amount of damage, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword because you're going to have units that need to build up, and doing that amount of damage along with any other units that are going to be attacking that turn means you could slow some of them down, especially with the 9th anniversary introducing like longer content. Zamasu is fine considering how short that fight is, but then also you kind of avoid that awkward phase where you're doing so much damage that the units that start out quite slow or weaker, they're less likely to be hit, but then they need to build up. But just hitting a 13 million attack stat like that turn 1 with the guaranteed crit on his first appearance is dumb. And especially if you hit an additional as well, that's a guaranteed back-to-back crit on 13 million attack stats, don't forget. Superclass allies also have a chance of performing a critical hit plus 20%, and extreme class allies chance of performing a critical hit plus 10% for 3 turns. So for 3 turns, Superclass allies are getting a 20% chance to crit, extreme class allies are getting a 30% chance to crit going forward. Actually, we might as well just slide him here. I'm going to have him linked up with Birdku just because that's the better rotation I can like have him on for the time being. But that means everyone in this rotation has a 30% chance to crit because of Super Saiyan 3 Goku for 2 more turns. 14.5 we're up to now that we're better linked off. The damage he's doing so quickly is actually really stupid. Okay. I mean, this probably won't do too much. I mean, his SA effect, he doesn't actually have anything that buffs himself, so it doesn't really matter. 10k. I mean, it's kind of to be expected. I did think, you know, his defense would be not insane or anything because he doesn't have guard, he doesn't have damage reduction. He does have dodge, just not a lot of it. But his defense is solid enough for him to be runnable now. Solid enough for him to be viable. But he's not invulnerable. He doesn't have so much defense. He doesn't have so much sheer stats that he's going to be taking like no damage whatsoever. But he has enough to be runnable. But he just does so much damage. Now for the rest of his kit, he does gain an additional attack and defense plus 150% for 5 turns from the character's entry turn, which this is, I think maybe he's lost it now. Yeah, you can definitely tell he's lost it. His attack stats dropped a little bit, which is fine. He also gains an additional attack and defense plus 150 and has a 50% chance of launching an additional super, which, I mean, you could have fooled me because he's been hitting additional supers left and right for us right now. And that is for 7 turns, so we do have an extra turn or 2. No, we have an extra turn of that because it is from entry turn, not appearance. So yeah, we do have 1 more turn of that. So he's going to lose that next turn, or technically next time. No, technically next turn, but of course that won't fully be noticeable or take effect until he comes back again. He does also gain an additional attack and defense plus 100% when performing a super attack, which is why his numbers do jump up the way they do, starting from the 8th turn from the character's entry turn. So we will get that in on turn 6, so yeah, two turns time. And he also has a 30% chance of evading, and he gains an additional chance of evading enemies' attack plus 30% before attacking. This is the only kind of asterisk I've got with his kit of... It's nice that he has dodge, it's nice that he kind of has like an extra defensive capability rather than just relying on numbers, because again, his defense isn't, as I said, like millions and millions and millions, you know, considering he doesn't have dodge, no, not dodge, since he doesn't have damage reduction or guard. But as I said, it's enough to make him runnable, it's enough to make him viable, while still having that risk factor involved of, you know, you might want to use an item here because, you know, for those of you who do no item runs, this doesn't matter to you, but, you know, there's still that risk factor of like, you might need to use an item here, you might need to protect this rotation, him, you know, things like that. You know, if there's a super here, he generally may take a lot of damage. Like, there's still that. He's viable, he's runnable, which is good. I don't think Super EZA should be making units, you know, kind of invulnerable to like the hardest enemies in the game, like completely. But it's brought a unit for the second time back into the meta. It's brought a unit for the second time back being viable again, which this Goku is. So, you know, in terms of having a 30% chance to dodge, it's nice that he has it. Of course, it is quite low. The only thing is, getting that full 50 that you can get with the extra 30% you can have from putting him in slot 1, because it's pretty much before he attacks. I would have liked the 30% chance to be 50 instead, because it's very risky. And I think that's probably the point of it. Like, if you slide him in slot 1 and the dodge pops off, great. If it doesn't, he can take some damage. Like, quite a bit of damage. So I would have preferred, you know, it's not that much of a difference. I would have preferred if he had a 50% chance to dodge, flat out, and then gains the 30% chance to dodge before attacking. Or maybe that would have been too strong. I don't know, but that's just me. And then he does gain an additional defense plus 150, and there's a 50% chance of putting a critical hit for 3 turns after actually dodging, which, again, that's another reason why I kind of wish he had a little bit more dodge chance instead of the flat 30 and maybe 50 instead, because you want that crit for 3 turns. You want the extra 150% defense, but he has to dodge to get it. So, you know, I would have wished it was a bit more, but I can easily see why it wasn't, which I'm fine with, because he's still very good. For the first Super EZA we've gotten, he's very good, he is very strong. As I said, don't expect to run him in, like, you know, the most difficult content, mainly JP's, you know, on the JP side of things with the 9th anniversary content, because that shit hits hard. As I said, he isn't invulnerable to damage or anything like that. The chance to dodge is only 30%, but if he does it, if it comes off, great, and you get the extra, you know, 150% defense and the 3 turns for crit, and you just avoid a lot of damage. But one thing this Super EZA has done for the second time around, just like the EZAs initially did back in the day when they first got introduced, it's made units that were initially in the game that kind of fell to the wayside, out of the meta, never, you know, you thought you're never going to use the unit again. It's brought them back into the fold. It's brought them back into the mix. You have a reason to use this Goku from, when did he drop initially? All the way from 2016, so near when Dokkan almost first started. You have a reason to use this guy again, which I really do like. I really do like. And a lot of units that are going to be getting Super EZAs, they're like some of the oldest units in the game. So they literally only have like a couple lines of text of passive. So it's almost like they have a clear slate, a blank slate, for them to just come up with a whole new passive for these kind of units. You know, you're looking at Broly, you're looking at full power Frieza, SSJ3 Vegeta, who, to be fair, has a very good foundation, but he doesn't have a lot going on aside from his damage reduction. We've lost a lot of our like boosts now. We're down to 7.7 million, which isn't too bad considering we're like, what, turn 10? Turn 11? Turn 11, so we're on turn 10, so, you know, we're quite deep into the fight, which, you know, this is where some of the 9th anniversary content gets to, or maybe a little bit before. But 7.7 million isn't too bad. But before that, 14 million attack stats, 13 million attack stats, doing the damage he can do. Especially if he dodges and gets the guaranteed, no, 50% chance to crit, sorry, for 3 turns. And he's an old unit, so you have dupes naturally in this guy. But that guaranteed crit on turn 1 is crazy because you're doing a ton of damage like early doors, just straight out of the gate. But I like it. I said he's very strong, very good defense. I said it's made a unit that is all the way back from 2016, had his time, then fallen to the wayside, has his time again with an EZA. It's making those units runnable. He's viable, but he isn't invincible. Remember that. But he's good. He is good. So for the first super EZA we have in Dokkan, I'm happy. He seems very, very strong. And it's just nice to have these old units like runnable and viable again in the current content, even if, you know, they're not #1 in the game again. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments, guys. Take care of the rest of your day, and peace.